Cool. So I think it's really loud though. Can you turn it down just a little bit, my microphone? Now it's too loud. Not too quiet. All right, first I want to start by saying Buona dimineața. Did I get that right? All right. Second thing I want to say is, guys, please give Steffi another round of applause because what an amazing human being. I think we could all learn a little something from what she just said about the personal side of life. I want to be, if Steffi, if you're in the audience still, we had a chance to hang out a couple of times this week, and I want to be more like her every single day. So, first things first, as Philip said, my name is Pete. I work for Google. I'm based in London, in our London office. And full disclosure, I am not an engineer, I am not a coder, I do not build programs, and I do not know how Google search works. So that's a little about me. I work in branding and marketing. So as Philip said, I help some of our largest customers figure out how they can take their old traditional brand campaigns from offline and figure out how they can repurpose that message and find millions of people at scale online using technology at very special moments to create further engagement and brand love. So what I'm going to talk to you guys about today is a little bit around some just basic stuff around brands and where I see entrepreneurs like you guys maybe missing the mark and when you're developing your apps. And then I'm going to talk a little bit around disruption and why that's good for your brand. But first, last thing I'm going to say before I get into it is I'm super excited to have been here all week. I've been here since Friday, actually, and I've been meeting so many of you entrepreneurs and all of you guys. And I say the word entrepreneurs with extreme jealousy because I wish if I could go back, I would do what you guys are doing. The fact that you guys can come up with an idea and in 24 hours in a hackathon or in your basements, wherever, you can make a prototype and bring that to life, I think that is phenomenally incredible. And I'm extremely jealous of you guys. And I call myself a wantrepreneur because I want to be more like you, but I just don't have those technical skills. So I'll talk a little bit more about that. So big respect for you guys. So I do a lot of these chats. This isn't my first rodeo. And I always like to start these chats by doing a little bit of a brain teaser. So I'm going to ask you guys to do this with me. It's really fun. It's not that hard. And it's really good to do to start. So I'm going to ask you guys just to put down everything in your hands. I just want you to stand up. And when you stand up, I want you to find a partner. So look to your left or look to your right and find a partner. If you're standing there and you don't have somebody to your left or right, that's totally fine. You can do this by yourself, okay? So in a moment, I'm going to share with you guys a brain teaser on the screen. And what I want you guys to do with the brain teaser is I want you to solve it, obviously. Top tip, the answer is a number. So I'm looking for a number. But more importantly than the number, I want you to tell me how you got to your answer. What was the thought process behind it? There might be different ways of finding the right number, but I'm looking for the most logical and the best way. So here's the brain teaser. If Belarus equals 13, Poland equals 7, Russia equals 12, and Hungary equals 17, what does Romania equal? So do that now with your partners. Try to solve it. And if you've seen this before, don't spoil it for your partner. You can talk. Interaction is good. Anybody have a guess so far? Just yell it out when you have your answer. 11. I heard 11. Why 11? So you're looking at the numbers on the right-hand side and trying to find a sequence? It's a good approach, but it's not the right answer. So guys, I'm going to give you a hint. The numbers on the right-hand side have absolutely no correlation between them. It's not going to help you solve this challenge. 40. Why 40, Philip? Phone prefix, good approach, but it's not the right answer. I'll give you guys another hint, just to speed this through a little bit. The person I saw solve this, actually, let's take yours.
12?
Why 12?
It's a graphical representation of the first letter.
Say that again?
It's sort of a graphical representation of the first letter in each country. Like first
Ooh.
one would be, second one sort of.
Wow. I've never thought of that, but it's a great idea, but it's not. Actually, you have the right number, but the approach is wrong. So 12 is the right number, but the approach is wrong. I'll give you guys another hint. The person I saw solve this the fastest was a Chinese lady, spoke no English. She saw everything as a symbol. She did it. Sorry?
That's what I'm saying. The letters, the numbers on the right are a graphical representation of the first letter in the word, in the name of the country.
I see what you're saying. I'm going to give you the answer because you're very close. So it's the open-ended points. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then the rest are the same. So it's the open-ended points. So you guys can all have a sit down. You can sit back down. So good shout there. So the reason I play this game is for two reasons. The first reason is it's a little bit of fun. It's early morning. I want to wake you guys up a little bit, get your brains in a good brain state so you can digest information a little bit better. But also, number two, it helps me land my golden principle that I follow every single day in life. And it is called this thing, rivers of thinking. And basically, when I showed you guys that challenge, how many by a show of hands looked to the numbers on the right-hand side to solve the challenge? I would say usually when I do this, it's about 90% of you are putting your hands up right now. Chances are you look to the numbers. I did something to tell you, I told you, stop looking at the numbers. That's not how to solve the right answer. I was pushing you, provoking you, and I wanted you guys to look in different areas. The reason I share this is because every single day we are faced with a challenge. And every single day we might be approaching it in the exact same way. And this rivers of thinking is really powerful. It was developed by a creativity scholar by the name of Edward de Bono. And he says, I don't know if you know him, he's famous for 6 thinking caps or hats. He says your brain is like this mountain. When information enters your brain, they are like the fresh raindrops at the beginning. Your brain doesn't really know too much about it. It's just fresh. It's stimulus. But he says the more expertise, the more learning, or the more kind of education you do around a subject matter, or your jobs, your challenges, the products you're building, the more those raindrops become these streams of consciousness. And he says they get so deep that they become rivers of thinking. And he says rivers of thinking are great if you want the one right answer to a challenge. So when I wake up every morning, I need to get dressed. I need to know how to get dressed quickly. I'm not looking to reinvent the wheel here. I just need to put my pants on. So it's very good to have a river of thinking. But if you're looking to, do something different, something that your competitors have never done, some product or app that has never been created, you need to get out of your rivers of thinking. You need to approach your challenges in new and exciting different ways. So that is my golden principle. And how you can do that is twofold, by adding provocation and stimulus to any situation. So what I do with my clients all the time, with Starbucks, when I work with them, Automar PK, I throw them lots of suggestions, provocations, stimulus. What if you did this? What if you did that? What could this look like? So my top tip to you guys is when you're developing your apps or whatever program or software it is, think differently about the challenge. Because if you don't, chances are somebody else has thought the exact same way you have, and they've approached it the exact same way, so why are you better? So that's my first thing. So one more thing I'm going to do before I jump into the meat of it is I'm going to show you guys now 2 lines, 2 horizontal lines on the screen, okay? And I want you guys to shout out. They're parallel. They look like this. One has arrows this way, one has arrows this way. I want you guys just to shout it out. Which line is longer? The top line, the bottom line, or are they both the same? Okay? Make sense? I'm going to show it very quickly. Top, bottom, or same? Same. Guys, what the fuck? I just told you about rivers of thinking. If you stopped, I didn't leave it long enough. Now, what do you think? Top, bottom, or same? Top. I kind of tricked you because I went a little bit faster, but how many of you, before I showed you the lines, already in your head, knew you were going to say the same? A lot of you, because your brain has seen this before. You're trained to naturally look at challenges and solve them very quickly. My point is, stop that. It's great if you want the right answer, but if you guys are looking to do new and crazy things, this isn't going to really help you. It's not the best way forward. So I'm going to set up the scene a little bit for you guys in terms of what your industry looks like, because I think it's extremely powerful, yet it could be extremely dangerous if you don't look at it in the right way. So I'm going to share a little bit of stats. What do you think 100 billion represents? Shout it out. I like an interactive crowd. 100 billion apps downloaded in 2013. That is a lot of apps. Put that into perspective, that's 14 times the world's population. If you break that down, how many apps are downloaded per year, per second? There's 35 million seconds in a year. Simple math suggests that that's 3,000 apps downloaded every single second. How many of you guys develop apps? A lot of you. By the time I finish this sentence, 15,000 apps have just been downloaded to an app store globally. That is crazy. So huge opportunity for you guys. There's a lot of interest in what you're doing, so you're in a very, very good place. The second numbers is 86 and 14. So this is the ratio of time spent in-app versus on a desktop. And you can guess which one is which. 86% of people's time they spend in an app versus 14% on a desktop. So you guys have their attention. You are building products for the world that is looking for your stuff, which is awesome. And last but not least, this is the number that everybody loves to talk about, 35 billion. $35 billion in revenue was made in 2014 from apps. This is now an old number. I was reading an article last night on the Apple WWDC, and it's suggesting even higher. I'm not going to quote it because I'm not exactly sure how right it is. But in 2014, $35 billion. So why am I telling you this? You guys are sitting in a world of opportunities. There is so much for you guys to do, and it's extremely exciting. But with any opportunity, there's always some challenges. So I'm going to bring those back. So 60%. Does anybody want to guess what 60% represents as a challenge? Yeah, so of all the millions of apps out there in any one of the stores, I should say, 60% of apps are never downloaded. That's a problem. Challenge number one for you guys as developers, discovery. What are you going to do to get people to discover your app? That's why I'm here today. When Vlad asked me to talk to you guys, I was, what do I talk about? I'm not an engineer. I'm going to help you guys just to think a little bit more about how you position your app as more of a brand to get more people to discover you. Second one is 95%. 95% of apps are abandoned after 1 month. How many of you guys have downloaded something and have just thrown it away, deleted it after a couple of weeks, couple of months? Exactly. Challenge number two for you guys, engagement. It's extremely hard to get engagement. Furthermore, 20% of apps are deleted after just using them once. It's really, really tough for you guys to get traction. And last but not least, 91% of apps all in every store you can download them from are free. So challenge number three for you guys is conversion. How are you converting people from downloading stuff, and how are you converting them actually to spending money with you? So I'm going to talk a little bit about a couple of brands that I personally admire in the tech scene, and I'm going to talk about a couple of stories around why I think they're doing a great job and what I think you guys can steal with pride and start thinking about a little bit early. So huge challenges. So these are the ones. It's no surprise. I want to first start in on with Airbnb, because Airbnb is probably one of my favorites. I use it all the time. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't really use Airbnb as an app or as a product or as a service that early. I used it actually after they rebranded themselves. So they launched their company. It was very transactional. You wanted to find a hotel that you could get a flat that was a different experience. You could go there. It was a lot cheaper as well. And the point is on a phone, you could do it quite easily. When Brian Chesky did the rebrand, the founder and CEO of Airbnb, he talks about this research that they did. And for 1 year, they were researching, finding out information. And they found that every person that was booking with Airbnb, or most of them, I should say, the primary goal, the reason they were doing this was for a sense of belonging. It wasn't because they had a well-converting app. It wasn't because the website was slick and clean. It was because they wanted to feel like they woke up in a city as if they lived there. This emotional connection to the program that they were building was a revolution to him, and he said, this is what our company stands for. It's not an app that disrupted the hotel industry. It's an app that allows people to feel like they've belonged. And I think it's one of my favorite tech brands because they've recognized this early, or I guess actually kind of a little bit later, but they're playing into that now so that you can actually take their logo and you can customize it if you have your own flat on Airbnb. You can design the logo as much as you like, and they actually encourage you to do that. And I think in the future, you're going to start seeing this brand in more places. You're going to see it in restaurant windows, Airbnb friendly. You're going to see it in people's windows in their homes, in their flats, and then it's just going to signal to you that there's an experience to be had here. So I think it was a fundamental large shift from being very transactional to more of an emotional play. And then I'm going to talk a little bit on Tesla and obviously Google, because that's where I work. But those are my other two brands that I think are doing something a little bit different than Airbnb, where they're constantly seeking to disrupt themselves to stay relevant and to stay ahead of the times and to make sure that they're staying aligned with people's user patterns. So the first one, between the two brands, they do something really well, and they do very similar things. And it's these three things. They identify a huge challenge, they apply a radical solution, and then they have a breakthrough technology to help solve that. So this isn't new thinking, by the way. I nicked this from my friends at Google X, who have developed driverless car, Google Glass, all those really, really famous stuff. But I want to share with you this because I think it's really good for you to think about it in terms of a branding point of view rather than just an innovation and breakthrough, 10x thinking type view. So with a huge problem. The reason we got into driverless cars at Google was because we had a massive issue in the world. 1.2 million people are killed every single year due to car-related accidents. That's a huge number. If you don't think it's big, let me put this in perspective. Each year, 8 million people, on average, a little bit more actually, die of cancer, of all cancers. So 1.2 million to 8 million is not that far off. And Google's point of view is that's a problem. We need to solve this challenge. We have the means of actually doing this. So they're actually seeking these opportunities to make the world a radically better place and make it safer for everybody and just make it a better experience. And this significantly helps our brand. If you think of all the PR coverage we get, it's all free. Google doesn't pay any money for those articles. We just put out crazy products and people generally start to listen. Now, I'm not saying this is all possible all the time to create these 10x huge innovations, but what can you take away from that? Use this as stimulus again. I'm just throwing provocation and stimulus to you. What can you start doing that'll get people talking against a huge problem that everybody could align and rally against? Tesla, same thing. So I'm going to talk more about Tesla's Powerwall, the new solar panels, or the charging state, the receptacles that store the energy from the sun, from the solar panels, because they just launched that. So the massive issue that Tesla's trying to solve for isn't electric cars, which they're nice, by the way. I've test drove one recently. It's awesome. It's to actually reduce the greenhouse gases in the world's atmosphere. Because if we continue using electricity and consuming stuff the way we're doing, the global warming is going to be an immediate issue. It already is. The temperature rising each year in the globe is 2 to 4% Celsius, which is a massive problem. So you can imagine, what could happen with ice, ice melting and stuff like that. So they're trying to solve for that. So when I talk about radical solution, what I mean by this is you need to think about how can I reinvent the wheel. It's not tweaking what's already out there. If you're looking at developing an app that's just a better version of something, you're probably not going to win. My advice to you is you need to think from the ground up. So with driverless cars, we didn't take a regular engine and just tweak it, modify it to make it driverless. We literally spent years in development just thinking about how we could do this differently. So I challenge you guys to really get out of your rivers of thinking here and think differently. And I have this really, really fun example that I love to share, which is it's a revolution from Speedo. Do you guys know Speedo, the swimsuit, the really tight, skimpy bikini for men? In 2008, in the Summer Olympics in Beijing, they designed the new Speedo for the swimmers. Does anybody remember what those Speedos looked like? By show of hands. Yeah, what do they look like?
Just like the old ones, but they work.
Yeah, so they had a couple, but the one I'm thinking of was a full bodysuit. From head to toe, they were completely covered. In the swimming industry, it was known that you shave all of your hair because the less friction in the water, the faster you swim. Speedo said, we can do this better. We need to build this product from the ground up. We need a radical solution. They went and investigated sharks. They said, sharks are incredibly fast. Why are they fast? With sharks, what they found was the complete opposite. They're not smooth. They have hundreds of thousands of little divots on their body, which captures pockets of water and pockets of air, which means that sharks are somewhat buoyant in the water. They're almost floating. So when they exert their energy, it's when they attack. So they used this, they created this bodysuit, and there was like 11 world Olympic records smashed that year. It was such a powerful new innovation, a new product that is completely banned from every single major swimming sporting event from then on. So you got to think differently. Again, get out of your rivers of thinking. Look for outside stimulus. And I'm running low on time, so I'm going to go a little quicker. And then breakthrough technology. The one thing I'll say about technology, which is great, and you guys know this, is you can test early, you can fail fast, and you can find results and learn and just get better and better and stronger. This is our number one principle at Google. We always try to fail quickly. I think somebody was talking about that earlier. It doesn't matter how many times you fail, it's what you learn from those failures. So for you guys, use the technology in your advantage. Don't take failure as a bad thing. It'll always help you be stronger. Last thing that's really helpful for brands is, especially in your world, is the toothbrush test. And what I mean by this is create products or create an emotional connection to people so that they use you at least twice a day as they do a toothbrush. So that is a fundamentally guiding principle that we go by. is this something that a user would want to use or need to use more than 2 times a day as they do a toothbrush? So just a couple of stuff I wanted to share with you guys. I think, this is very much disruptive thinking chat here, but take the principles of what it is. And I challenge you guys to get out of your river thinking around how you think about your brand earlier on. Because I would love to, chat to Brian from Airbnb and say, why didn't you think about your brand earlier? When they launched Airbnb, it was a blue, very tech-looking logo. And, he admits it. He said they created the logo in days, if not hours. And had he just thought differently, I need to create an emotional connection and allow people to experience what it feels like living in cities, he could have really got there quicker, and they could have even done maybe something completely different. You don't know. So my big ask and challenge to you guys is really start when you're planning your companies, when you're developing your apps, think about what does it look like in the App Store? What does it look like in Google Play? What does the branding look like, the logo? And just try to think of what's the message that I want to get across to my customers, what's that experience I'm serving, and then play into that experience and make sure you tell them that you understand that you're giving them a great experience, and then make sure that everything around your brand messaging aligns to that. And the payoff, it's not working. The payoff, very quickly, because I'm running low on time, is, for Tesla, for example, when they launched the Powerwall not too long ago, within a couple of weeks of them launching that new product, they had pre-orders for $800 million. So that equates, so in 2014, they did $3.2 billion in revenue. So they almost did a billion of 3.2 in a couple of weeks. So you can see the power of reinventing yourself and disrupting your own brand. It's not only good for people talking about you, people getting PR around you, it's also good for revenue, because if you don't do it, somebody else will. You guys are about to probably disrupt other people, and they're going to be super pissed. So don't forget about that when you become super successful. We have this thing at Google we always say, is just because we're successful now, or we've been successful in the past, doesn't mean we're preordained to be successful in the future. So disrupt yourselves, find these new opportunities, look where nobody else is looking. I promise you, people will talk about your brand on a global level, like Google, Facebook, Twitter, Uber. I think somebody's on next from them. They're disrupting a lot of stuff. And that's it. And last thing from me, guys, there's top tips. Make a world better place, start from scratch, fail fast, toothbrush, be brave. Last thing is my email. If anybody wants to connect with me, it's petej@google.com. And as I said when I started, I feel like I'm an entrepreneur, but after being here, or a wantrepreneur, sorry, and I feel after being here, I want to be with you guys as an entrepreneur. So I have a couple of ideas for a couple businesses. If you're interested in talking to me about that, I'd love to talk to you. I'm looking for some developers actually to start something, which I think is really cool, and I'd be happy to chat to you about that. And that's it. That's all for me.
Thank you. So we'll definitely go and get you to Cluj. We'll find you great developers, and then you'll come more often and help the startups here to build their brands, right?
I'd love to.
Does it sound like a deal?
Deal.
Okay,
Yeah.
We'll hook you up with developers. We'll make that happen.
Thanks, Philip.
Okay, we'll take one question from the audience before we
Yeah.
break because I think it was very engaging, and I'm sure that people want to have a question. So one question, so the first one to raise their hand is allowed to have one question to Peter. I don't really see if we have any, but yes.
I have a question here. You had a design thinking.
Can we get the microphone very quickly that everybody hears, Dan? Thank you.
You had the map with thinking, disruptive thinking. So do you think on social effects that are coming with disruptive technology when you build your brand? You heard something about
The
this?
social effects from disruptive technology.
Yeah, what about it, sorry?
Yeah, the social effects. You have worked with this, or you think when you build a new brand, and you think it's a disruptive technology will affect other, old technologies.
So I'm not as lucky to be working with startups like yourselves. I work with very traditionally established companies. Like, for example, I did some work with Booking.com, and they're talking about companies like Airbnb. So when I chat to them, it's about what are you going to do to keep up with the changing times? And basically what it comes down to is consumers. I think you guys are very good at understanding I can create a great product, I can have really cool features, but really go out there, and a big part of my job when I do brand consulting is I speak to my customers, and I ask them, what do you like about the booking process? What do you hate about it? Why do you use booking rather than hotel? Airbnb versus X and Y. And the stuff you find from just speaking to real life human beings should dictate what you guys do in terms of how you position, how you pivot your company. And when I chat to these big established companies, they're scared of guys like you because they know you're hungry, they know you're out there. So the impact, I think, for them is, they're always on point and they're always thinking, if I don't disrupt myself, somebody else will. And I think the impact, if they don't take any action, is negative. It's very bad. So I think that's why you see more and more companies like Yahoo, for example, started investing a lot in social companies like Jeremy yesterday. It's because they're worried about that. They want to stay ahead of the curve.
Okay. Thank you very much, Peter.
Thanks, guys.
Much appreciated.